Hello, friends, and welcome back to Discover Christian Mysticism with John Adams. I'm John Adams. I got this email from our friend William. William writes, "This quote is very enlightening. All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone," wrote the French philosopher Blaise Pascal. "Could you make at least one video teaching people how to sit quietly in a room alone? This would greatly help my spiritual life." Well, William, that is an excellent challenge, and I accept. It sounds nice to sit quietly in a room alone, right? But sitting quietly in a room alone is so hard that prisons use solitary confinement as a form of extreme punishment. Think about this. When was the last time that you sat quietly in a room alone, without your phone or a book or anything to do? How did that feel? If it's been a while since you sat quietly in a room alone, run the experiment for yourself right now. Shut me off, leave your computer, your phone, and any other noise making device at home. Walk until you find a place that is quiet and free of other people. Then sit down under the sky, relax, and quiet your thoughts. Then watch how long it takes for feelings of anxiety to bubble to the surface. Watch how long it takes for your stomach to growl, for sensual thoughts to jump into your imagination, for some argument that you had last week to replay itself in your mind, or for your to-do list to hijack your attention. John of Damascus, one of the early monks, wrote that we should know that there are 8 kinds of thought that constantly attack us. They are gluttony, lust, greed, depression, anger, despair, vainglory, and pride. Sitting quietly is so hard because we carry our internal war with us wherever we go. What is wrong with us is inescapable because it is in us. We would rather stay stressed, stay busy, and stay distracted than face the monsters that lurk in the shadows of our unconscious. Sitting quietly in a room alone won't fix what's wrong with us, and I don't think that's what Pascal was trying to say. But I think that how we feel when we sit quietly in a room alone is actually a good measurement of what's going on in our souls. And it shows us maybe the areas of our spiritual life that we need to work on. Here's a little bit about my personal story. About 12 years ago, I was this guy. I was broke. My wife's immigration paperwork had been denied by the government. My car had been stolen with my passport in it while I was traveling abroad. I had been roughed up by the police. My job was a nightmare, and I was suffering the early symptoms of an autoimmune disease. Look at my eyes in this picture. I think I was probably 2 personal disasters away from writing a manifesto of some kind. But now I'm this guy. I still face a lot of the struggles that I had back then, and I have my ups and downs. But I enjoy life. My wife and kids are happy, comfortable, and safe around me. I'm not angry at God. I'm not angry at the universe. I'm not angry at society. I just do what I need to do every day to keep moving forward despite the obstacles that are in my way. 12 years ago, I was on the path to lifelong anger and bitterness, but I didn't get stuck on that path. I changed course. So, what happened? A big part of it is that I learned to sit quietly in a room alone. I started practicing mindfulness meditation. I didn't start with any spiritual ambition. I was probably too angry at God to do any real Christian meditation at that point. So I started with secular mindfulness. We've all heard that mindfulness meditation can improve our physical and mental health, and that was what attracted me to mindfulness meditation in the beginning. Mindfulness meditation is an alert but non-reactive stance in attention. It's detachment from the ideas, desires, passions, and self-centered thoughts and anxieties that distract the mind when we are focused or at rest. Neuroscience researchers Goleman and Davidson write in their book Altered Traits that the meditator notes without reactivity whatever comes into mind, such as thoughts or sensory impressions like sounds, and then lets them go. A form of mindfulness grounded in science is the current darling of the self-improvement community. They're selling it as a cure-all to all of life's problems, from your relationship problems to your mental health to your business woes. But the basic practice can be found in various spiritual traditions that date back thousands of years. All the way back in the 3rd century, St. John Chrysostom, church father and archbishop, described the fool for Christ. He said, "It is to control one's thoughts when they stray out of line, to make the mind empty and free, swept clean for the words of God that it needs to welcome. Desert Father Abba Bessarion was much more direct and practical. He said simply, keep silence and do not judge yourself. I love that one. My first practice of mindfulness meditation was whatever I found on Google back in 2015. The instructions for meditation were something like just sit still, focus on your breath, and let your thoughts go. There was usually some kind of metaphor for meditation in there, like watching clouds dissolve in the sky, watching boats float by on a river, and so on. I tried it, but it was hard to sit quietly, alone. It stirred the mud of my subconscious, and I hated what bubbled to the surface. I thought I was meditating wrong because I didn't achieve an empty mind. So I tried other techniques and I worked hard to fight every negative or distracting thought. Like most people who practice meditation, I learned over time that you will never quiet your mind by trying really hard to quiet your mind and then judging yourself for your noisy mind. That path is a dead end. For me, the issue was that I was trying to use meditation as anesthetic for my inner pain. I wanted to feel peace, not deal with the things about me and my life that were stealing my joy. When negative thoughts and feelings appeared during meditation, I was angry with myself because it wasn't what I wanted to feel. I tried to bury the negative, and then I judged myself when I couldn't do it. But that is not how we achieve inner peace. The monk Thomas Merton writes that all methods of meditation that are, in effect, merely devices for assuaging the experience of emptiness and dread are ultimately evasions which can do nothing to help us. Indeed, they may confirm us in delusions and harden us against that fundamental awareness of our real condition, against the truth for which our hearts cry out in desperation. What we need is not a false peace, which enables us to evade the implacable light of judgment, but the grace courageously to accept the bitter truth that is revealed to us, to abandon our inertia, our egoism, and to submit entirely to the demands of the Spirit, praying earnestly for help and giving ourselves generously to every effort asked of us by God. That's in Thomas Merton's book, Contemplative Prayer. If you want to sit quietly in a room alone, you can't avoid your own wounds and limitations. You can't avoid the dark side of life. Sooner or later, those things come to the surface. To sit quietly in a room alone, you have to be able to accept reality as it is without judgment. You have to see things as they are, ask God for help, and embrace the world as it is. This is just not natural for our minds. Richard Rohr writes, the mind by nature is intent on judging, controlling, and analyzing, instead of seeing, tasting, and loving. This is exactly why it cannot be present or live in the naked now. The mind wants a job and loves to process things. The key to stopping this game is, quite simply, peace, silence, or stillness. But the overly verbal religion of the last 500 years does not seem to understand this at all, and tends to be afraid of any silence whatsoever. It cannot follow Jesus and go into the desert for 40 days, where there is nothing to say, to prove, to think, or to defend. Although we all use the phrase peace of mind, there is really no such thing. When you are in your mind, you are never truly at peace. And when you are truly at peace, you are never in your mind. Don't believe or disbelieve that statement either. Just honestly observe yourself. Then you will know, but it will be an altogether new kind of knowing. This is the important thing that I've learned through the practice of meditation. We will never quiet our minds by force or good technique. Our brains are survival calculators. That's what they are, and they're always working. They give us constant suggestions for how to stay alive. And by nature, most of these suggestions are negative, self-centered, and based on worry and fear. It never stops. True inner peace does not mean perfect inner silence. True peace means that we accept what we are and stop fighting it. An old monk named Isaac of Nineveh writes that there's no need to set yourself against your thoughts. It's much better to just take refuge in God. We should stop fighting the thoughts planted in us by the devil. In prayer to God, we should break off all contact with him. That is how we know that our minds have found the wisdom that comes from grace, and that true knowledge has freed us from too much action. Thus, we have mastered the shortest route. Another great image for this comes from the Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh. He writes, right mindfulness is like a mother. When her child is sweet, she loves him. When her child is crying, she still loves him. Everything that takes place in our body and our mind needs to be looked after equally. We don't fight. We say hello to our feelings so that we get to know each other better. Then, the next time feeling arises, we can greet it even more calmly. We can embrace all of our feelings, even difficult ones. Just like as soon as a mother takes her crying baby into her arms, the baby already feels some relief. When we embrace our feelings with right mindfulness, we suffer less right away. For me, finding peace through meditation was a lot like learning how to put a child to sleep. It was a shift from being frustrated and screaming no at every negative thought, gently saying to my brain, yes, okay, thank you, but right now, shh. That meant learning to abandon my ego and inertia, like Thomas Merton says. It meant accepting that things are not as I would organize them if I were really in charge of my life or the universe. But it also meant learning not to react so violently to the things inside and outside myself that I do not like and that I cannot control. So now, the big question, can I sit in a room quietly by myself and be at peace today? When I was much younger and I didn't have anything to really worry about, that kind of thing was really easy for me. It came naturally. But once I got a little older, I lost that ability. My mind overwhelmed me with frustration and worry. I had to learn how to slow down and find peace again. Now, today, I can sit in a room quietly by myself most of the time for a while. But I had to practice to get there, and I still have a long way to go to sit in that room quietly by myself for longer. Mindfulness meditation is a great way to practice how to sit quietly by yourself in a room, but it's not easy at all. And over the last 8 years or so, as I've practiced mindfulness meditation, I've learned some things that have helped me, and I'll share those things quickly with you. The first thing to understand is that a noisy mind is normal and it probably won't go away. It takes practice to disconnect from your mind's constant stream of thoughts and suggestions. So lower your expectations and be patient and gracious with yourself when you start. The second thing is to thank your brain for so many wild suggestions, but don't take them seriously or identify with any of them. Figure out how to watch your brain's suggestions appear and disappear without attaching yourself to them. Learn to laugh at yourself and what your brain suggests, and you'll know you're on the right track. Number three, start slow and pace yourself. Set a timer and incrementally increase your meditation sits. Don't try to do too much too fast. Ease yourself into the kind of practice that you want to have. Number four, believe that it's good for you and that you will get better at silence as you practice it. If it wasn't awesome today, decide to try again tomorrow. And don't worry about it. Nothing is at stake. There are no punishments for bad meditation, and there are no prizes for good meditation. So just relax. Number five, don't judge yourself when it doesn't go well, or congratulate yourself when it does go well. Just be happy that you did it and do it again tomorrow. Number six, don't use meditation to try to escape reality. Even in meditation, accept all truths, bitter and sweet, without reaction or judgment. Decide not to change anything, at least for this moment, and just be. If you're a person of faith like me, turn your heart quietly and passively to God. Read scriptures like Psalm 131, Psalm 46, Habakkuk 2:20, or Ecclesiastes 5:1 and 2. Personally, my go-to scripture in meditation is John 15, where Jesus says, "Remain in me, and I in you." Just do that for a while in the presence of God, and you'll be okay. Number eight, don't expect or need anything to happen. Be content with a time of silence for its own sake. Number nine, don't try to hang on to the feeling of peace. When you're finished with your meditation, let it go. Allow yourself to fully return to your life and your responsibilities. Trust that you can go back to that place of silence whenever you need to. Number 10, 2 weeks is the minimum, but 8 weeks is where we really start to see the inner benefits of a mindfulness practice. Spiritual disciplines get much easier once they become a daily habit. So try to find room in your life to build a little spiritual chapel and go in there to pray at least once a day, no matter how you feel or what happens when you do. Once you have a little sanctuary in your schedule and within yourself, you'll find it much easier to sit quietly in a room alone. And French philosopher Blaise Pascal will be pretty impressed with you. Let me know in the comments what has helped you as you've learned to practice meditation. Or if it hasn't worked for you, let me know your struggles with meditation. Let me know how meditation has helped you grow as a person. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel for more spiritually enlightening content. And we'll see you next time until Christ is formed in us.